Okay, very good morning to all of you. My name is Min. I'm one of the coordinators for Orbital. Wee Sun is the other coordinator. He's our Vice Dean of Undergraduate Studies. He's here in the front and he'll be giving the first session. So we need you to find your seats as you get started. So just come in and have a seat. If you can't find out where you're supposed to go, just use Slack. Somebody else will help you guide you to your seat. Okay, so why are you here? Hopefully you're here to pick up some practical programming experience. Okay, as we had mentioned in the briefing, maybe you didn't come to it, but basically we started Orbital 3 years ago as a means to give you more practical programming experience, because we found that some students don't have necessarily the right background or the right experience to get good internships in Singapore or even abroad. And secondly, we find that students also don't have that much opportunity to do something that they really like to do. Okay, and thirdly, finally, we noticed that a lot of our graduates, industry people have been saying, you guys are really, really bright, very, very strong, but for the life of you, you can't present and tell each other what you've done. So part of the reason why we've organized Orbital is to give you lots of chances to tell each other, communicate to each other about what you've been doing over the summer. So in the last year or two, you've probably heard a lot of news in Facebook and other media about coding boot camps. This is not one of them. Okay, so this is not a coding boot camp. Why? Because we're not going to actually teach you much. We're going to just tease you a little bit with 2 days worth of material. Okay, it's your job to use the internet, Stack Overflow, Google, whatever you want, Slack, all right, to find out the information you need to solve the problems that you want to tackle. Okay, but this comes at a very cheap price. It's free, whereas the coding boot camps cost you up to 20K. And plus you get 4 modular credits of doing your own thing. So we already know it's the right time to be doing that. We hear lots of news in the media about the emergence of Smart Nation and how we as an industry, as a country, are lacking enough professionals to fill in those gaps. Okay. Now, all of us know friends in ITE or Poly, and maybe they're going to be filling the bulk of those roles. But us at university, hopefully, we're going to be a little bit higher up on the food chain, right? We are not going to have our jobs outsourced, but we're going to be able to be creative and use our talents to manage other people, to code where it's needed, and to bring good skill sets along.
An astronaut. I want to be a fashion designer. A basketball player. I want to be an actor. A doctor. A teacher. A chef. An artist. Maybe want to be a leader. A mermaid. Do you know what a computer programmer is? No. No. I think it's something that has codes and it's able to decode a mystery. I think that they... wait, what? Computer programmer?
Nowadays, just about everything requires some form of programming. So, what is it? Programming is basically explaining to a computer what you want it to do for you.
When you're programming, you're teaching possibly the stupidest thing in the entire universe, a computer, how to do something.
Programming is one of the only things in the world that you can do where you can sit down and just make something completely new from scratch, you know, whatever you want.
It's really not unlike kind of playing an instrument or something, or playing a sport. It starts out being very intimidating, but you kind of get the hang of it over time.
Coding is something that can be learned, and I know it can be intimidating. A lot of things are intimidating, but you know, what isn't?
A lot of the coding that people do is actually fairly simple. It's more about the process of breaking down problems than you know, sort of coming up with complicated algorithms as people traditionally think about it.
Well, if it's fairly simple, why aren't there more of us doing it? Over the next 10 years, there will be 1.4 million jobs in computer science, and only about 400,000 grads qualify for those jobs. That's a shortage of 1 million people. So how do you start?
I was obsessed with maps when I was a kid, and cities specifically. So I taught myself how to program. I had a very clear goal of what I wanted to do, which is to see a map of the city on my screen and play with, put things on the map, move things around the map, see what was happening in the city, how it worked, how it lived, how it breathed.
The best early thing was actually using software to decide when the classes in my school would meet, and that put me in a position to decide which girls were in my class.
The first program I wrote asked things like, what's your favorite color? Or how old are you?
I first learned how to make a green circle and a red square appear on the screen.
The first time I actually had something come up and say, hello world, and I made a computer do that. It was just astonishing.
When I finally learned a little bit of programming, that blank wall resolved into a bunch of doors. And you open them, and finally you start to open enough doors that the light comes in. And to me, a finished program is like a structure filled with light. All the corners are illuminated. You understand the structure of it. It's a really serene feeling to have completed that.
It took me some time to realize that creating things with your hands or creating code, creating programs is just a different way to express creativity. I think right now there's a big emergence of the culture of making. People who make their own scarves and hats, people who write their own apps.
Now it's just limited by your imagination and sort of what kinds of ideas what kind of understanding can you build into the computer so that it can do these things that were previously possible.
All great things happen in teams when you collaborate with other smart people.
You're testing your ideas, you're stimulating each other. That's what makes us successful. It's not some flash of brilliance by somebody who then codes 24 hours a day for 3 weeks. It's what happens, the magic happens when we're all on the same page, collaborating and building something together.
There's a much greater need in the world for engineers and people who can write code than there will ever be supply. And so we all live these very charmed lives. To get the very best people, we try to make the office as awesome as possible.
You have a fantastic chef.
Free food,
Breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
free laundry,
Snacks, even places to play and video games and scooters. There's all these kind of interesting things around the office and places where you can play or relax or go to think or play music or be creative.
I went on the Bureau of Labor Statistics for the United States, and there's about a third of the pie that's all the things you would expect. It's, they're working in the government, they're working in typical technology jobs. But then, like the rest of the pie, there's the majority of the pie just split down into these little teeny slices of every industry imaginable. And what it is computers are everywhere. Do you want to work in agriculture? Do you want to work in entertainment? Do you want to work in manufacturing? It's just all over.
all depend on technology to communicate, to bank, information, and none of us know how to read and write code.
So you guys, what else? Who else has an idea of what we can change with our programming? What else can we do? Tiffany? What I saw my students take away from using Scratch and programming in our classroom is that they were willing to push through problems. It really builds critical thinking, it builds problem solving, and it's something that they can then apply to math in the classroom or their reading skills. We integrated science with this programming, and I saw my scores go up 30%.
When I was in school, I was in this after-school group called the Whiz Kids. People found out, they laughed at me, you know, all these things. And I'm like, man, I don't care. I think it's cool, and you know, I'm learning a lot. And some of my friends have jobs.
It's important for these kids. It should be mandatory to be a citizen on this planet to read and write code.
I just think you have to start small, right? And I think that's one of the biggest misconceptions about computer science and programming overall is that you have to learn this big body of information before you can do anything.
You don't have to be a genius to know how to code. You need to be determined.
Addition, subtraction, that's about it.
You should probably know your multiplication tables.
You don't have to be a genius to code. Do you have to be a genius to read? Do you have to be a genius to do math? No. No. I think if someone had told me that software is really about humanity, that it's really about helping people by using computer technology, it would have changed my outlook a lot earlier.
Whether you're trying to make a lot of money or whether you just want to change the world, computer programming is an incredibly empowering skill to learn.
To be able to actually come up with an idea and then see it in your hands and then be able to press a button and have it be in millions of people's hands. I mean, I think we're the first generation in the world that's really ever had that kind of experience.
The programmers of tomorrow are the wizards of the future. You know, you're going to look like you have magic powers compared to everybody else.
I think it's amazing. I think it's the closest thing we have to a superpower.
Great coders are today's rock stars. That's it.
Okay, so Code.org has been a movement in the US for a couple of years, and they've been promoting coding skills even in the K through 12, and I think Singapore is adopting that now. So now I want to turn over our time to, oops, sorry about that. What else we need to cover, okay? So this is just the introduction. It's going to take about 10 more minutes or so. So just to make sure we're all on the same page about where to find all the information for the course, okay? First and foremost, we're using Slack. How many of you have a Slack client installed on your mobile? Yes? No one? A few? That's it? Come on, you guys can try again. Come on. Hands up high in the air. Who's got something on their phone? Yeah, okay. So those of you who don't have a Slack client, please do install one, okay? I know you guys all have smartphones, so please put one there so that you can interact with your advisor, okay? So hopefully you know how this works. You're assigned into an evaluation group. The evaluation group is led by your advisor. Those of you who are not in teams yet, don't worry. We'll assign you to an evaluation group once you have a team member to work with. And then they will be shepherding you throughout the course. Okay, I shared on Slack on the general channel. Hopefully you guys have picked it up. If you haven't, please read it now. Okay, some things that you need to do for preparation for liftoff and what you actually need to finish by the end of liftoff. It's the requirements that we'll go over tomorrow. Okay, so please read through this document. There's a lot of preparation for things that you need to install on your laptop if you want to participate in the workshops. Otherwise, it's going to be awfully boring to sit through lecture. Okay, so we hope that you've brought a laptop or is working with your friend or partner to code up all of the work that we have prepared for you. Okay, Again, just to flash the seating chart, it's on Slack. One apology is I left out a Chang Hei's group last night. I was doing this around 3 o'clock in the morning, so I wasn't that awake. So you guys are now in the front here. Hopefully that will fit all of you. Okay. Some of you may be assigned an advisor, but you may not know their Slack name. So these seating charts are named after their Slack name. So if you're not sure, ask around. I'm sure you'll be able to find out who you're supposed to be associated with. Okay, so to give you a long-range outlook for how the course looks, this is it, okay? Basically, today and tomorrow, we have the 2 days of mandatory workshop, okay? And then at the end of May, at the end of June, and at the end of July, you have 3 milestones that you need to complete. That means you have to turn in some documentation, okay? And then subsequently after that, you're going to have to evaluate other people on the same milestone. When we come to semester 1 of next year, next AY, around week 2 or week 3, right now scheduled tentatively for August 17th, we'll have a poster session where you guys will all come back and show off what you've done over the summer. Okay, throughout the summer, okay, for the first half of summer, we will be having what we call mission controls. This is for the set of you who happen to be local in Singapore. You'll have the chance to come back every Tuesday to SOC, either to the hangar, which is opposite there, or to Block 71, where a lot of the startups are, okay, to attend some workshops on different topics, okay? They'll run for the first 5 weeks of the summer. We will cover alternate technologies and go in depth a little more on some topics that we are going to gloss over today. Okay, in the milestones, basically, there are 3 of them, as I said. The first one, we're going to concentrate on ideation. That means, what is the scope of your project? What do you plan to build throughout these 3 mini sprints? Over 1 month, what are you going to put into your project at each stage? Okay. In the second milestone at the end of June, hopefully you've got it started, you have some technical know-how now, and have gotten starting coding on the features for your particular project. Okay? And finally, in the last month, around the end of July, you should have completed most of your core project and are working on additional features or refinements that you're going to finally present again at the close at a splashdown on 17th August. Okay, so mission control works like this. Basically, it'll be those optional workshops during the summer on Tuesdays. Basically, we'll have a first workshop in the early afternoon to cover some topic. Then you'll have some time to hack with your partner, with other friends who are coming to the workshop on either things related to your project or homework that comes from the workshop, okay? So if you want to beef up your resume with lots of buzzwords and things like that, please do come down to the workshops. We'll give you teasers to a lot of different technologies. These are all, again, supported by your fellow NUS SOC students, all your seniors in the student groups who are coming together to give you tutorial, okay? There'll be food sponsored by Google from 6 to 7 o'clock in the evening. Sorry, they're not bringing their chefs down to cook for you. You have to cater from Subway or, I don't know, Pizza Hut, all right? And then secondly, we'll have another workshop in the evening where we round out the whole experience. So you have a whole afternoon, whole day's worth of time which you can devote to your project while learning some new things on your own. So how do the milestones work, right? This is what's going to define whether you pass this course or not, okay? Our course actually has 100% pass rate, okay? There's no bell curve, no worrying about bidding points, none of this stuff, okay? We pass everyone who gives it a really good shot, okay? The only condition is you have to try, okay? Your peers have to judge that you put in enough effort, have accumulated 130 hours worth of work to qualify for the 4 MCs, okay? So how does it work? Basically, you're going to use our administrative system called Skylab. It was one of our FYP students' work to file some reports, Okay, it's basically a README about your project, a video about your project, and a project log, how many hours you've done. Okay, and then after you've done that, you can then publish that so that other teams can look at it. Okay. Now these milestones are going to be evaluated on a form. That form will be made available to you ahead of time so that you know what your peer teams are going to be looking for when they evaluate your project. Okay, so after you turn in a milestone, let's say at May 30th for the first milestone, okay? Within that 1 week after that milestone is due, your teams will also have to evaluate 3 other peer teams that are in your evaluation group. That's why we're asking you to sit with your evaluation group. Likewise, 3 of those teams will be evaluating your group. Okay, so either collude and make sure you all pass, or be nice friends and suggest lots of useful features so that you can make a really technically interesting, really strong coded project. Okay, your advisors are also going to be the official voice piece of Orbital. Okay, many of them are here, some of them are overseas, some of them are wherever they are, and they will be going through your projects as a peer evaluator, trying to give you better feedback to improve your project. Okay, if you have critical or negative feedback, you can also give it. It will be given in an anonymous section of the form. Otherwise, all of the feedback is considered attributed to your team. When you're aiming for intermediate or advanced level of achievement, okay, Project Gemini or Apollo 11 achievement, you will have to try to do better at giving criticism, okay? If you give criticism to every team that sounds like, oh, looks fine, great job, okay? That's basically not saying anything useful, okay? So you have to be a little harder than that. You have to suggest features or think from a customer's point of view, how you think this application, this game, this data analysis, this information security project is going to shape up and be helpful. Okay, as I said, for negative feedback, that's also part of the form. It'll be anonymized for source, and advisors will be the ones that can tell you who they are if they can be persuaded, but normally they'll just help you try to understand where that person is coming from. Okay, how are you going to make this project better? So after that, you're going to go through these 3 milestones. At the final milestone, milestone 3, okay, you will have a chance at the very end in another 5 days to give feedback on the evaluations that other groups have given. Okay, why do we need to do this? Because again, for higher levels of achievement, we need to know that the feedback that your team gives to another peer team is helpful. Okay, so this is where it's all going to come down to. You're going to convince your teams that you've evaluated, that you've given them good feedback, and then they're going to tell you, yes, you did. Okay, and that will entitle you for a higher level pass for this course. Now I want to make it clear, whether you do Vostok, Project Gemini, Apollo 11, with mentorship or without, everything is the same on paper. Your transcript will read the same. CP 3108B, independent project 4 MCs, S. Okay, that's all you're going to see. Okay, only within our group and other people within SOC do you have bragging rights, to say, oh, I did Apollo 11, I did Vostok, I did Project Gemini. Okay, so it really doesn't matter. It's up to you to define what level of achievement that you want to make. Okay, aim as high as you want, aim as low as you want. You can adjust it anytime. Okay, nothing is binding in this course. You can decide to drop halfway out. Okay, no risk to you. Oh, we've already covered advisors. Okay, advisors are the people manning a certain peer evaluation group that you're sitting with today, hopefully. Okay, mentors are also available. Okay, these are people who are students in SOC, seniors. They can be recent alumni from SOC. They can be seasoned veterans in industry who know a lot. Okay, they have all come to the Orbital program to volunteer to network with you, the next generation of programmers, coders, and developers. Okay, they are willing to help, but it's conditional. Okay, they want to see you put your best effort in. Now remember, Orbital is a pass-fail course. You can't actually fail it because you can drop it at any time. Okay, but our mentors would rather give their time to a team that's really determined to try and pass. Okay, now as I said before, 100% pass rate for this course. How could you fail it, right? You can't. Okay, but we do have people who withdraw. Okay, maybe about 5% of the cohort actually decides at the end, oh, you know, I got busy, I found a girlfriend, I found a boyfriend, you know, I'm involved in a long distance relationship, I don't have time for Orbital anymore. That's fine, okay? But don't do it on the mentor's time. The mentor wants to be involved with you if you want to be involved with them, okay? So what are we going to do today? You can find it on the Orbital website, but I'll just tell you, our first session is starting in a couple minutes. We're going to be covering design thinking about how to approach a problem. That'll be done by Wee Sun. Okay. Then right after that, I think you'll have a good idea of what type of project you want to conceive and build over the summer. We'll have our lunch. And then after that, we're going to go over difficulty levels for those of you who aren't sure what to target. Okay. After that, we are going to break into two parts. Those of you who don't have team members, you will come with me to the I3 seminar room right across the hallway to find a matching partner. Okay. Those of you who have a partner, you can take an extended lunch break. Okay. But we're going to go over past year projects that will be hanging in the hallway, mentor proposed projects that some mentors have proposed, as well as NOC, NUS Overseas Colleges will be coming down again to greet all of you and to encourage you to do Orbital. Okay? At 2:30, we're going to cover Agile. Agile is a software engineering methodology. It's been going on for the past 10 years or so, and we'll have a very seasoned veteran, Winston Teal, who will be coming from his company, Jolly Good Code, to give this lecture. Okay? Then we'll have Google. Google will be coming down. David Zhu, who was an independent startup, okay? He created a startup called Divide, which was then bought by Google, so you'll be facing a millionaire today, all right? He will be coming down to talk about the next billion users program, okay? That Google is trying to get 1 billion more Google users from countries around here, okay? During this session, they've left lots of time for questions, so if you have any questions about anything, please do ask. We have microphones in both parts of the room set up so that you can come to ask questions then. Okay? Finally, we only have one technical session of the day. Okay? That will either be Android, for those of you who want to try programming a mobile device. That's slated more for the advanced or intermediate level who are comfortable with coding already. For those of you who are not so sure, who want to aim a little bit lower and make sure that you have that threshold, we have scheduled HTML and CSS, very basic web foundations that every computer scientist needs to know. Okay, that will be taught by Jia Yi from NUS Hackers. She's actually a student in this class. She's an Orbitee as well, so she will be giving this lecture for us. Okay. All right, so that's what's going on today. If you happen to be in the intermediate and advanced target levels, okay, if you want to nominate yourself for that, great, thumbs up, good for you. We will also be holding the mentor matching session that will be going on today, this evening, after the technical sections are over. That will be over across the hall in NUS Enterprise, the hangar, okay? That will round out what we do today. Tomorrow we also have a very filled schedule. We have Google coming back to talk about how to be hired as an intern or a full-time employee in the morning. Then we'll be covering technical sessions into the early afternoon. And then finally, in the late afternoon, we have ignition. This is the responsibility of all of you. Okay? So each team will have to come on stage here, okay, or on stage in the hangar to present for 1 minute what they plan to do this summer, okay? We'll give you time to work on that. If you have to produce 1 PDF slide for that, send it by Slack to us. We will serialize it, and you guys will all come on stage and present, okay? And then that's our workshop for 2 days, all right? So with that, I'm going to finish this webcast, and then we're going to go change over, and we'll start the next session in a minute.